Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. I'm Glazer of the Snap Judgments podcast, the official Marvel Snap Zone podcast. Marvel Snap Zone is the best Marvel Snap website in the game. Best articles, best content, best deck builder, free stats, everything you could possibly need. Please check out their YouTube. We have our podcast there. It features educated columns. It's awesome. If you're new here, I just want to let you know what we do here. What we do is we talk about decks that the rest of the meta isn't talking about, that other people don't know exist, that win you cubes. We have our own corner of the Discord over on the Marvel Snap Zone Discord channel. And every single person that hangs out with us in that Discord last season during the previous season hit infinite. I've hit infinite every season of the game. Today, we're going to talk about the deck that I used to hit infinite this season. All right. Please make sure you check out the podcast. You can see it right on your screen, right here. The Marvel Snap season predictions and conquest mode thoughts. Let's take a look at the deck I used to hit infinite with what amounts to an 80% win rate. So, I like Bounce a lot. I think Bounce is a really fun archetype. Ooh, we haven't updated our deck yet, because the reason that I hit infinite with this deck is that Beast was changed in yesterday's OTA to be a 3/4, and I wanted to see what that change did to this deck. This deck had a 78% win rate before the change, and then I went 6-1 with it to ride it to infinite after the change. So no, 5-1, excuse me, 5-1, my bad. So the deck's win rate is at just about 80%. Let's talk about how to play this deck. I think it is largely obvious. However, it's still important to talk about. Oh, sorry. In addition to the Beast being a 3/4 now, Hood is now a 1-3. Okay. These changes mean two things. First, Kitty Pryde remains the most important card in the deck, right? Kitty Pryde is how you win a lot of the time. You see Kitty early, and everything else in this deck sings. You end up being able to throw a priority really effectively. If you can get Beast on Kitty, that zero cost Kitty just straight up dominates games. It makes Angela huge. It makes Collector big. It makes Bishop huge. It goes unbelievably well on the last turn in one lane with Iron Man. Or if you drop Iron Man on 5 as part of a massive spread turn for Hitmonkey. Those are the obvious plays. The other most important card in the deck is because of the Hood's -3. That is Bast. Bast fundamentally gives you a huge pump. It is a card and a half extra for Hitmonkey. It is a card and a half extra for Angela. It's 2 extra card plays for Bishop. It's a 1 extra card return to hand for Collector, and it makes Hood as 1/3 just a really good. In fact, it is now a benefit to every single card in this deck except one. Beast, which is a 3/4, loses 1 strength. That's fine. You're not really playing Beast for strength. You're playing Beast to gain power. It's also worth noting that Bast, when you have Mysterio, um, will give all the clones, make all the clones 1/3, which means that you are getting a 2 for 9 because you played Bast before Mysterio, and Iron Man becomes a 5/6 because he's doubling his own power as well, which is, again, just bonkers amounts of power. So the common play lines are something like Kitty, ideally look, perfect world, Bast on 1, um, Kitty and something like Hood on 2, then Angela and bouncing Bast into Angela, Bishop and bouncing Kitty into Bishop, and then you drop Iron Man on 5 and you go off with as many cards as you can on 6, ending with Hitmonkey. Collector gets big, not humongous, but big. He's often a 6 to 8 power here because Falcon's bringing back your Hoods, Demons, Kitties, Bass, and Iceman. It's good, not great. Beast is your real money card here. Beast is significantly harder to play. Now that he's a 3/4, fundamentally he often clashes with Bishop, and it's harder to get down before a wave. But this deck actually does a really good job of beating wave. If you've played enough of the game, if you learn to read your meta, you'll be able to read when wave is about to happen. If you can read when wave is about to happen, what you can do is you can go off that turn and then save Iron Man for your last turn. Assuming that you are winning one lane by a lot because you've gone off on turn 5, that dropping Iron Man on turn 6 is bigger than almost anything the opponent will do in at least one other lane, assuming you choose that lane well. It's an extremely powerful way to win games. And again, I had an 80% win rate with this deck, so please try it out. Again, please note it is slightly worse than it was, but I think what it was is one of the top 2 to 3 decks in the game, and I think it still probably lands in the top 2 to 3, but instead of being 1 or 2, it's probably closer to 3. Oh, excuse me. Don't One important point for this deck, one more important point for this deck before I move on, is don't over prioritize Beast and Falcon. They're a nice benefit. They're especially good with Collector, but they're not by any means necessary. Kitty, Demon, Hitmonkey, Angela Bishop, Iron Man are more than enough power, especially with Bass Pumps. The bounce is a way to get top end, a way to get ceiling. Read the game, know if you need to go for ceiling or if you just want a consistent amount of power across your board. Our second deck for today, I've told you about Moyen before on this channel. If you don't know, Moyen is the single most successful tournament player in all of Marvel Snap. This is the closest thing we are showing you to a just straight up meta list, because this is the deck that Moyen, who is insanely and extremely competitive, is playing in tournaments right now. This deck fundamentally plays an early game move package to end up locking things on turn 5 with wave and another move card, and then playing either Heimdall or Doom the last turn to secure the victory. The way this works is you get something like Human Torch or Dagger down early. You start moving it around with cards like Iron Fist, Ghost Spider, and Cloak, and Doctor Strange. You add Vulture to that. You're basically just playing, trying to gain some power around the board in your early turns. On turn 5, you want to play Wave and either Ghost Spider or Cloak. You want to move some of your move cards to wherever it is most advantageous to gain power. Make sure that you're moving them right if you're thinking the card you're going to play Heimdall. And then once you're done with that, you play Doom. Doom or Heimdall on the last turn. And because you've been moving your Human Torch, your Dagger, and your Vulture, you have a massive amount of power, and you've locked your opponent on the last turn into only playing one card to win the game. This is very similar to basically all of the modern wave decks, right? It's using move fundamentally as a tempo piece to claim advantage early. It could have been doing this earlier, but it lacked the second move it could play with the Wave. Wave and Cloak has always been a phenomenal turn 5 play with Dagger, Human Torch, and Vulture. Even if you're just making Vulture an 8 at that point, you can probably get Human Torch up to an 8 at that point, and Dagger is an 8 almost always at that point, right? That's a fundamentally, the Dagger becomes an 8, the Cloak is a 4, the Wave is a 3, right? Like you're adding just a ton of power on turn 5 and locking your opponent out. But the problem was it was really, really hard to guarantee that you could pull this off because Cloak and Wave are 2 cards you had to have by 5. Now the only card you need to have by 5 is Wave, because you're very likely to see either Cloak or Ghost Spider by that time. If you've seen Cloak or Ghost Spider, just you have to be careful with your play to make sure the previous card you played is either that Torch, Dagger, or Vulture to get the max power out of it. This deck is really strong, really straightforward, and easy to play and gain power with. If you are struggling with move, I urge you to try this archetype. I believe that our friend Safety Blade is a genius if you didn't know. Our friend Safety Blade and Cam Best are playing a similar version. Both versions are like 3-ish cards, 2-3 cards different. The big difference is instead of Doom, they're running America to basically guarantee that play on 5 of Wave and either Ghost Spider or Cloak. It's an extremely, extremely likely play. It's like 60-70% time if you're running America. It's still likely enough with this, and you have enough other play to still win a lot of. Feel free to make either choice. All right, that's it for today's Snap Take. Please make sure you subscribe. You'll get great Marvel Snap content. Come hang out with us on the Marvel Snap Zone Discord. We will help get you to infinite. We'll see you Monday for another snap take.